Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Socorro, Texas. It is July 15th, 2025, 5:33 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Good afternoon now, starting with item number 2, establishment of quorum. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros,
Here.
David Estrada,
Here.
Julie Dominguez, absent, Osvaldo Reza,
Here.
Yolanda Rodriguez.
Here.
We have quorum with 5 commissioners present. Moving on to item number 3, open forum. Esteban, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
We currently don't have anyone.
Thank you, Esteban. Moving on to item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion
Make a motion.
to approve?
Yes, I make motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve, second by Osvaldo Reza. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, consider and take action on the proposed approval of a preliminary and final plat with a variance request from section 46-631 off-street parking requirements, subsection 15, to allow a reduction in parking space requirements of 1 space per 320 square feet of net leasable area instead of the 1 space per 200 square feet requirement from the Socorro DG addition subdivision being track 8C and track 8D, block 19 Socorro Grand, and located at 10401 Socorro Road, Socorro, Texas. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jose Botello, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 5 on the agenda is the Socorro DG Addition Subdivision Preliminary Plat, Final Plat, and Variance Request. Okay, so some general information on this development. The property address is 10,401 Socorro Road. The property owner is Frigo Investments LLC. The representative is Mr. Philip Cornett of John Cohen and Associates Incorporated. The lot size is 1.001 acres. The current zoning for the property is C2, which is general commercial. The current land use is vacant. And so the request is for approval, once again, of a preliminary and final plat with a variance request for the Socorro DG Addition subdivision. Staff is recommending approval of the variance request from section 46-631 off-street parking requirements, subsection 15, which is to allow a reduction in the parking space requirements of 1 space per 320 square feet of net leasable area instead of the 1 space per 200 square foot requirements. And staff recommends approval of the preliminary and final plat for the Socorro DG Addition subdivision with the condition that the engineering review comments are met prior to recording of the final plats. And so on the next slide, you'll see that the property is situated at the corner of Socorro Road and Nicholas Road. The following slide shows the zoning map. The property is outlined in the thick black line. The red is denoting the C2 general commercial zoning district for the property. And these are some pictures taken of the property from Socorro Road. And then on the next slide, you'll see the aerial map. You can see that the property is currently vacant. And this is the preliminary plat for the Socorro DG Addition subdivision, followed by the final plat. And the variance request letter that was submitted to our department outlining the variance for the parking requirements. In this case, the 320 square feet would allow them to have the parking spaces that they're proposing, which in this case would be the 35 spaces, which would accommodate their parking space requirements, the ponding area, and the structure itself. And so once again, the request is for approval of a preliminary and final plat with a variance request from section 46-631 off-street parking requirements under subsection 15 to allow a reduction in parking space requirements of 1 space per 320 square feet of net leasable area instead of the 1 space per 200 square foot requirement for the Socorro DG Addition subdivision. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have Ms. Alyssa Watson present via Zoom as well to answer any questions.
Why wouldn't, why isn't there like a site plan showing the proposed parking spaces to strengthen the variance or to accompany the variance request?
It's something that can be provided for future variance requests.
Is there any reason why it's not provided on this one, or? No?
It was a staff,
Okay,
we didn't include it part, but we can include it for future requests.
okay.
So the only reason that they're asking for this variance is because of, they had some issues with the drainage that they kind of restructured around, and that's why it came down?
Not necessarily, but so the letter explains that based on the traffic that they anticipate for the size of the store, they require a certain amount, right? And so they're accounting for an influx of customers, whether it be through like a heavy traffic like during the holidays, and I think it's something between the typical hourly requirements for their development is about like 7 to 10 parking spaces. So the 35 would anticipate, you know, a higher count of customers. But given the size of the development, which is like a little bit over an acre, the proposed structure, the ponding area requirements, the setback requirements, for them, it benefits them to request the variance so that they can accommodate the 35 spaces.
I don't have any more questions.
Mr. Botella, what would be the difference between the way the ordinance is written and with the variance? What would be the final difference between the parking spots we would have compared to the variance? Like, what's the net difference?
That would be about, based off the current requirement, it would be 53 parking spaces, and requesting the 320 square foot per net leasable space, that's what equals to about the 35 parking spaces. So it's about 18 spaces of a difference.
Hey, sorry, can I chime in if you don't mind?
Yes, go ahead.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, it's Casey Genovese. I'm the civil engineer in the project with Linfield Hunter and Junius Engineers, and that was a good job of definitely explaining what we're proposing here. But we're all proposing 37, and if you the total square footage of the building is 10,640, but a large portion of that, around 2,000 square feet, is just simply the storage room in the rear, where obviously there's maybe an employee from time to time is back there to get some goods. But the main front area of the building's the 8,500 square feet. That's the actual retail space, you know, where the customers are in the office, you know, in the restrooms. If you use that square footage, you know, which is really where people would be typically, it's only, the requirement would be 43 spaces, and then we're proposing 37. So if you use it that way, I guess there'd be a difference of 6 from the requirement. And as he explained there, the Dollar General, after all their stores, they've done studies over time, you know, and even in their highest grossing, you know, stores during the peak hour periods during Christmas or whatnot, or holidays, their studies and their their data shows that their peak time or periods, they only have 15 to 20, maybe people parked there during their peak periods in their highest grossing stores across the country. So they've done studies over many, many thousands of stores, and found out that their number is 35 that accommodates this store basically. And that gives them a little fluff in that 15 to 20 number basically. So they basically proposed the 37 to get as close as we could, while still meeting the retention requirements of the city and TxDOT, and not having any wasted pavement with any, unneeded pavement and additional stormwater flow, basically. We appreciate everyone's time and consideration for.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, do they need to comply with any landscaping ordinance? Is there a landscaping ordinance that exists?
No, not currently at the moment, but that will be addressed with the Unified Code Development rewrite.
Okay.
I think they would have to meet the historical district requirements, right? Because they're on Socorro Road.
Yes, and I believe that the structure itself is under review from the Historic Landmark Commission.
No? Any questions? No? I'd like to make a motion to approve with the staff recommendations.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve with staff recommendations, and second by Osvaldo Reza. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 6, public hearing for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 4, Block 12, El Gran Valle subdivision located at 11631 Riverside Road, Socorro, Texas, from R1, single-family residential, to R2, medium-density residential, to allow for a quadruplex. Mr. Arroyos, we have
Good
a
after-
speaker.
Good afternoon. We will open public hearing at 5:46.
We do have one speaker, Ms. Ruth Vasquez. If
Can you come up to the podium, please?
And if you can state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Ruth Vasquez. I'm here with my mom, Maria Vasquez. She lives at 11630 Riverside Road. I had several questions, but I thought that I would get the opportunity to hear the explanation of what the plan is for this quadruplex being built in this particular lot before I had, see if my questions are answered before I actually had to come up here, but we just want the details. Like, the paperwork shows a breakdown of the structure that they want to build, but is this something where, I don't know if this scenario is where they're gonna discuss whether or not this is gonna affect the taxes of the local residents, because now this is like a business, right? This is a business location. That's what one of my questions was, if the people who bought this property is like a family-owned type of situation, or is this gonna be a business that's gonna be built, being the fact that it's gonna be quadruplets, they're gonna be like apartment complexes, and how is that gonna affect the residents around in that particular location? Are taxes gonna go up? The structure of how the living structure is gonna be for different families to be living in this half-acre property? So I don't know if I should wait until everything's presented, or if it's something that can be answered now.
I think that can be answered now, right? I think that's through Central Appraisal's office, Mr. Leo, on whether it should affect the residents around there for their taxes.
I think that's something that's determined by the El Paso Central Appraisal District, which is a separate entity.
Right, so I don't think we would be able to,
Okay.
Yeah,
Say
on the
anything.
taxes issue, this question comes up all the time on other requests like this, is that, even Planning Zoning Commission, they don't determine taxes. City of Socorro has its own taxes, if you ever look at the bill from Central Appraisal. But then there's all the other taxing entities, like the school district, things like that, so they all determine their own tax rates, how they're gonna tax it. Then Central Appraisal puts it all together, so that's more of a Central Appraisal question. But generally, to answer your question on taxes, Planning Zoning Commission can't take into effect the impact on taxes on other properties, because sometimes if the value of your property goes up and it actually becomes more valuable, that's usually when the tax rate's going up. It's actually a benefit, not a disadvantage. If it, on the other side, if the flip side is if it negatively affects your value and the value of your property goes down, you'll lose value on it, but then your taxes also go down. So it's a practical consideration, I think, that you're asking about, but it's not something that gets taken into account in the planning zoning process.
Okay.
Yeah, and the mere fact is that if the value of your properties are going up, that's what, other than the rates going up, you're actually getting an advantage out of this, so that's not something even the planning zoning can take into account. There's a number of factors that planning zoning commission can take into account when looking at these kind of applications, but they're not allowed to consider impact on taxes.
Okay.
So, but I know it's a very long explanation, but.
No, but I got it, yeah. I understand. In regards to the structure, we only have what was sent in the letter. That does not, I'm not an architect, so I don't understand fully the structure of it. I just don't fully understand how is it that they're planning on building a quadruplex. Is this, like I mentioned before, is this gonna be for living purposes of it's a family and they're all gonna live in that structure? Or is this for purposes of renting it out to people? And how is that gonna affect the structure of the neighborhood, the coming and going, noise ordinances, the structure overall, how it's gonna build, the people on the sides, the people that live across the street, how exactly is this type of structure gonna affect everybody? Because where we live, we're used to, it's single or double residencies, but it's families. Only one of them, if I'm not mistaken, it's being rented out. And it's not always an inconvenience, but it is something where we don't know the people that are constantly coming into our neighborhood. If there's gonna be strangers moving in and out, depending on how long they stay, how long they rent it, what's the actual plan of what they're gonna do with that quadruplex? Is that something that is gonna be discussed in this platform?
Yeah, I think all the questions you're asking right now, so I think as the chair mentioned that it'll turn into the presentation right now so that you can
Okay.
hear kind of the plan. And then the questions you ask, the commissioners can then kind of bring up
Okay.
everything you just asked. Yeah.
First timer, sorry.
No,
I
no,
didn't
you're
know
good.
how all of this worked. Perfect. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the speakers that we have, Mr. Arroyos.
We will close public hearing at 5:52.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Lot 4, Block 12, El Gran Valle subdivision located at 11631 Riverside Road, Socorro, Texas, from R1, single-family residential, to R2, medium-density residential, to allow for a quadruplex. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Item number 7 on the agenda is the rezoning request at 11631 Riverside Road. So some general information on this rezoning request. The property owners are Mr. Alejandro Jimenez and Carlos A. Barragan, who are also the representatives for this rezoning request. The size of the property is 20,020 square feet. The property is currently zoned R1, single-family residential. Current land use is vacant, and the future land use map shows this area or this property as suburban residential. The request, once again, is for approval of a rezoning of a property from R1 to R2 to allow for a quadruplex, and staff recommends approval of the rezoning request. And so on the next slide, you'll see that the property is situated between Riverside Road and the River Drain Canal. This is the zoning map for the property. The yellow is denoting the R1 Single Family Zoning District. The property is outlined in the thick red line. And this is that same zoning map at a larger scale. You can see that there's a few R2s and a C1 within close vicinity of this property. This property is part of the El Gran Valle subdivision. The El Gran Valle subdivision was established back in December 19 of 1988. Currently, it has 135 R1 lots. It has 8 R2 lots. There's no R3s. There is one C1, no C2 lots, and along with this request, there's 8 vacant lots at this subdivision. This is a future land use map confirming the suburban residential overlay for this property, followed by an aerial image. You can see that there was an image before, but on the pictures of the site, you'll see that the structure was removed. These pictures were taken from Riverside Road. Sorry. There we go. Yes. Constituents within 200 feet of this property were notified for this rezoning request. Staff did not receive any calls, correspondence in favor or in opposition for this request. These are the public notice letters that were sent out to the constituents, both in English and Spanish. And then followed by the site plan showing both structures and the parking spaces, as well as the ponding area towards the rear of the property. And then this is showing what the floor plan would be and the elevations showing the design of the quadruplex. The floor plan on your top left side of the screen is what the footprint would be for one unit. And so once again, the request is for approval of rezoning of property from R1 to R2 to allow for a quadruplex. And at this time, staff can answer any questions.
Quick question, since it's 2 separate buildings, it would be 2 duplexes, no? Or would it still be, instead of a quadplex?
Correct. There is like a wall that joins both. So I don't know as to the technicality of that. You can see it like if you're looking at the elevations, the one that area being hovered over by the cursor, where the black square is, it's like I guess like a covered patio
Like
with
an
like
entryway or a
entrance.
portico or something.
Yes.
Why is the top, or I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Why is the top picture not reflecting it, the very top one? If it's the front elevation, why doesn't that reflect that middle courtyard? If they're facing each other, the very top one, you see it? But the bottom one does.
The elevation, the very top one.
Yeah, the very top one, right there in the middle of both of them, why doesn't it reflect that covered patio? Right there, where would that covered patio be?
I think that's the rear portion. So I think they're connected by that I guess private entryway, and then the elevations that you see at the very top are like from the rear. So you're seeing the elevations from the rear, from the side, and then from the front.
I think kind of before we had talked about allowing a duplex for like every 10,000 square feet and stuff, so to me, if it's a duplex or a quad, 2 duplexes or a quadplex, it's over 20,000 square feet, so I'm okay with it, but any other questions?
So it's overall, the lot's 20,000 square feet total, right? And so sticking to the general rule of thumb, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
they would fit. And the structure you said that was there in the picture is no longer there. They tore
Correct.
it down, right? So there's nothing on the lot. It's
There-
empty.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'd like to
So-
bring up the resident to answer any more questions. they might have.
I'm sorry?
I'd like to bring up the residents to see
Oh.
if they have any more.
Do you guys have any other questions? Or do you kind of see, kind of understand what the site plan shows, where the buildings are gonna be at?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, I'm
please.
sorry. Come on up.
From what I see on the pictures, if I'm understanding correctly, they want to do two structures of the property going from the front of the property toward the back of the property, long ways, facing each other.
Correct.
And those two structures, they're each gonna have individual, like, 2 and 2.
Correct.
To make it 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
And then they plan on doing the parking space,
In the
it
front?
looks like in the front of the building,
In the front.
and having 4 spaces, if I see that correctly.
No, they got
One of them being
eight
go-
spaces.
8, okay.
They have 8 spaces in the front, and then they have the ponding area in the back.
So it's basically gonna be 4 different units at this point, that are gonna be leased out. There's no reason, or there's no way for us to, or any check marks for us to say, no, you know what, we can deny it or nothing, because they're following the parking spaces. They have the available space in regards to land to be able to do it's actually 2 duplexes that they're doing rather than a quadplex. Because I remember the last meeting we had for one on Hueletka, we had said no quadplex, but this is actually a duplex. It's 2 separate units, which allows it due to size of the land. So there's technically not anything we can work with to deny it, per se. They're literally following all the guidelines, per se, with the city in order to have a quadplex there. Whether they're gonna rent it to family, whether they're gonna rent it to tenants, that we have no say, or we have no control over it. At that point, if they're rezoning it, they're able to do that. And like our attorney said, right, at that point, when it comes to taxes, that's a whole different.
Are they gonna be, I don't know, I can't really see, it's really small, but I know in our properties, whenever we are gonna build anything, there's a specific regulation where you have to stay a certain amount of feet away from your wall. I think it's like
Yes.
7 feet or something.
On the
like
sides, I
that.
believe it's
Correct.
5 feet
It's 5
on
feet.
sides, and
Okay.
then on the
5
front.
feet
I believe-
setbacks, and then 25 in the front and 20 in the back. 25 in the back and 20 in the front
Okay.
from
And all
Stevens.
of that is gonna be followed.
Followed,
Yes.
yeah, all that has to
Okay.
be followed. A minimum of 5 feet have to be.
And I think here, on one of side, he's got 5 feet, and on the other one, he's got 12 feet on the sides.
And is that trees in the middle, the green stuff, that's?
Yeah.
what
Mhm,
trees
It's
are
gonna be
pretty
like a
much-
courtyard,
Like
or
landscape?
sitting area for the residents.
Okay. Quite honestly, myself and my mom, I don't know about the rest of the residents, we're not very comfortable with this situation because it's a quiet neighborhood. And for us, it's not just about the structure, it's about the privacy, it's about the coming and going, the security of knowing who's there, who's not. And it kind of sounds like this is gonna be based on a business where they're gonna be, like you said, renting it out possibly to other tenants. And not knowing who's coming, who's going, if they're supposed to be there, not supposed to be there, it doesn't feel very safe, to be honest. We've been victims of people breaking into our homes before, which I know is a separate issue, but that is why that is a big concern. Aside from the fact that being that they're placing a business in the middle of a neighborhood, I know for a fact that's more than likely gonna also affect our taxes. So it's not just gonna affect our way of life, the way we feel secure in our own neighborhood, it's also gonna affect the structure of how we do things and our taxes as well by having a business in the middle of a neighborhood. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but it just feels like it's really crowded. It's too much for one lot. It's too much, too many people crammed in one little space, in one little neighborhood to be coming and going on a constant basis. The family at the very end of our structure, which I don't know if they're here, if there were even a plan, part of this, based on the distance, they have a duplex, and For them, it's already like, with their family, it's already a crowded situation. Living with the vehicles and like the way they live in the structure. Now imagine 4 in 1/2 acre property. That's the biggest concern here. How are we gonna actually attempt to regulate noise ordinance? How is this gonna disturb the way we live, our peace in that little neighborhood? That's our biggest concern.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a suggestion to go into executive session. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to go into a executive session, second by Osvaldo Reza. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried.
Executive session means that we have to talk.
Afternoon, everybody. We are out of executive session at 6:20.
So, Mr. Chair, I did want to ask Mr. Botella, are the representatives here today?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Did they have anything to add? Did they want to speak to it, what they wanted to do?
I just wanted to, and my name is Alejandro Jimenez, I just wanted to add into this property, if you notice on the plans, we have the corridor, like you guys were questioning over that. If you look into the other plans where it shows the dimensions of the property, right on the second one, it has a private gate for each property, so each individual family will have its own privacy. And if you look on the sides of the property, there isn't any doors. We are excluding the doors on the sides of the home just to have their own privacy, as well for the neighbors to have their own privacy as well, and contain the noise as they are requesting and asking that it's gonna be a little bit more than what they expecting.
On the sides and
Can
on
you
the
state,
back.
can you state your name, please?
This is, I'm Carlos Barragan. The sides, our tenants are not gonna be able to be on the sides or on the back, because the back is gonna be a pounding, and then the sides, it's only for us to go and clean. So we don't want our tenants to be either on the sides, making noise for the neighbors. That's why we make the courtyard in the middle, so they could have them in the middle, and then that way there won't be too much of a noise disturbing the neighbors. That's kind of our idea that we're trying to do.
I had a question. Given the makeup of the development, historically, the way that it was, or the way that it is currently, and the opposition that you guys have heard today, would you guys be opening to making it a duplex, one apartment on one side and one apartment on the other?
Well, the reason why we bought this lot, because it's enough space to make the 4 duplexes. That's why we were trying to do this since the beginning. We were looking for a lot that was big enough. And your rules, it's that we have to have that, how much? 10,000. Yes, the 10,000 square that we need, the footage that we need to do the 4 duplexes. That's why this is what we're trying to do.
So,
I wanted to add a little bit more into this. Before us buying that property, we evaluate the whole area, and we did see apartment complex around that area. That's one of the reasons that we decided on property. It came up for sale, and it made other requirements, which is 20,000 square feet, 10,000 per duplex, and that's one of the reasons we considered. We wasted money on the plans and everything. We met other requirements as City of Socorro. So it would be kind of hard for us to go just a one-on-one site, because it's gonna cost us more than what we already have.
and just as a point of clarification, Mr. Botello, if they could also subdivide and make 10,000 on one side and 10, if because again, it's not a 10,000 square lot, it's a 20,000 square lot, right? So I guess my question would be if in the event that it was denied, they could ask for a subdivide and then have to make one duplex and then another duplex on each property. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Out of curiosity, what's the cost on these plans? How much are you in it?
Cost of this plan, it cost us $11,600 to meet all the requirements of City of Socorro.
I'll add a little bit. Are all neighbors, is all the public neighbors to the neighborhood? I'll add a little bit more on the situation that we're in. They're literally following all the guidelines. There's no, per se, rule that they're breaking or whatnot, right? We definitely want to contain it to a specific size. We asked them if they're willing to consider maybe one per side, but they are within the limits of what they can do, right? we understand the concerns, they've addressed them and saying that they're gonna do the courtyards in the middle to try not to address the neighbors on the opposite ends. We just wanna clarify it so you guys understand on the point of where we're at, where what has been established, they're literally following it at this point.
And also would like to remind you that this is just like the first step. It's whether it gets passed or denied here, it still has to go to city council. So you can also take your concerns out to city council whenever it goes out there. Okay? Yes.
Well,
I'm
You
sorry
have to come up to the
Thank you
mic.
guys, if you guys wanna take a seat.
Thank you. Do I need to open public hearing again, or is it okay if we just ask her to come up?
You can ask her to come up, yes.
Okay, you can go ahead and come up, ma'am.
State your name.
State your name again, please.
Ruth Vasquez again. I know they explained, you know, they're gonna have certain parking spaces for the residents, which are gonna be for individual families, and that they're gonna be maintaining the outsides of the property. How often is that gonna be happening? How often are they actually gonna be going out there? Because like they said, that's not gonna be open to the public. And then what guarantees and how exactly are they going to control when there's family members or friends or additional people going to the properties to stay there for X amount of time? Where are they gonna put their vehicles? Where outside their property are they gonna end up parking their vehicles? How are they gonna guarantee for the neighbors, the residents, that it's not gonna become an issue where they're parking where they're not supposed to be parking? Or they're parking across the way from our homes, which I know that to a certain extent it belongs to the city, but it becomes kind of an inconvenience to have in a residential area a stranger's car parked right outside your home. What guarantees do we have of that? And what's the structure that they're gonna follow? In their contract that stipulates how exactly are they gonna control the noise? What is it exactly that it's gonna say on there for the residents to know that they're not allowed to do parties, for example, or certain noise, that it's gonna disturb the rest of the neighborhood? Because we're talking about 4 different families in one small little area. Even if I understand they're doing the structure so that the noise is controlled in the middle, but you're talking about 4 families in one structure. All the other properties, it's 1 family per household. And as it is, sometimes it gets out of hand where cops have to be involved, they have to be called, and things need to be done in order to maintain the noise at a lower level. Now imagine 4 different people. And I do want to state that, as I was mentioning, we were having a conversation outside. When we moved into this resident area, when my parents decided to buy those properties, I have a property 2 streets away from that, is because of the area. It was peaceful, it felt more safe, away from businesses, away from all that drama, and now that's being stripped from us little by little by allowing this to happen. Like they mentioned before, there's all these different vacant lots. That's gonna become the thing. Once this gets approved, let's face it, it's gonna be the thing where it's gonna become a business. And that piece, that choice that we made when we moved to these properties is gonna be completely stripped from us. And we're not okay with that. All 4 of us that are present here, unfortunately, the other residents were not here because this letter was only sent to people within 200 yards. It's not just gonna be those people within 200 yards that are gonna be affected. It's gonna cause a ripple effect that it's gonna end up affecting everybody else. And we're a neighborhood where we pretty much know, everybody knows everybody. This is disrupting everything. It's being taken away, the choice that we made when we bought these properties. We would like for it to stay just a basic residential area, not a business.
Thank you.
So I'll add a little bit more in regards to the neighborhood there. There is 8 lots. This meeting is only to rezone it. There is 8 current lots already that are rezoned for multiple properties, which is R2, not as single residencies, right? The other 8 vacant, you're right, they can come, but unfortunately, because of the guidelines, there's not much that we could say, you know what, we can't tell somebody, hey, you cannot do this with your land, but then we allow it for somebody else. Make sense? There is already 8 in that subdivision that are zoned R2, as the map states here. It's just something that has been going on. I went blank. I was gonna let him know of something else. No, you're fine.
I'd like to add a little bit on so there's 135 lots, 8 of them are duplexes. Even if the other 8 made it to R2, that's 16 lots. So if I take the 16 and divide it by the 135, it comes out to like 11.8% of the total lots in the subdivision. And I think in the future, it could work its way into an ordinance where it could be like maybe 20% of lots within a subdivision or something could, and then that could be a guideline for us at this point, where we could say how many lots are in there already, how many duplexes, how many more are we gonna allow. So I certainly understand what Ms. Vasquez is saying when they moved in a while back, but there's a lot of vacant land out there that, we see it all the time. So I think that's a guideline right there that we can, at some point, follow. So I'm comfortable at that number, like, it's 8 right now.
12%.
Even if the other 8 make it at 16, you're right at 12%. All the other guidelines, we've passed these and these have been approved in the past with the same guidelines that we've been talking about.
So, it's a hard conversation. So I personally think it should be one duplex in total, right? And I hear your concerns. Everybody speaks English? ¿Todos hablan inglés? No. So, does everyone understand Spanish? Okay. So, es bien difícil la conversación, porque ya no quiero decir barrio, pero este desarrollo ya tiene desde el 88, ¿verdad? Acaban de la presentación. Desafortunadamente no todos los lotes se desarrollaron. So, persona que compra el lote determina qué hace con su lote, ¿verdad? Con su terreno. El espacio basado en lo que está en el criterio de la ciudad y cómo se ha hecho, está dentro de todos los guías y está dentro del reglamento, ¿verdad? So, no es la última oportunidad de votar si están en favor o contra, pero mi afán este año ha sido de que lo que se pueda hacer aquí en Planning and Zoning, que se determina aquí en Planning and Zoning, ¿verdad? Sí, tienen la oportunidad de ir a City Council y votar su oposición, pero ellos tienen que trabajar dentro del reglamento que tenemos, ¿verdad? Ahora, como residentes que viven allí en ese desarrollo, pues tienen la habilidad de, si están demasiados carros en la calle, hablar con los inspectores, ¿verdad? A ver si hay algo que está fuera del reglamento. Si hay violaciones del ruido, también tienen esa habilidad, pero estamos atados. Y la realidad es que sí se necesita el desarrollo, sí se necesita la inversión. Sigue habiendo 8 propiedades en desarrollo, ¿verdad? Y eso que esas propiedades tienen desde el 88, ¿verdad? So, desafortunadamente, no es desafortunadamente o afortunadamente, pues es la realidad y pues we are where we are.
Es difícil.
I have a question. I have a question for the builder. If you can come up, please. When you purchased the property, there was already a structure there. Can you tell me what that was?
Yes, the structure was a mobile home.
It was a mobile home.
Yes, and I removed the mobile home.
Okay, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
A question for the applicant. On this site plan, this front area right here, could that be used for parking, or would you be opposed, or is that ponding? It doesn't look like ponding.
No, it doesn't look like ponding. We could also use as a parking in case we
Additional
do
parking.
need, it's gonna be open. We're gonna have a security wall, I should say, right beside the property. There's like a line in the plans that show that's gonna be a rock wall across the property, so nobody could be driving back to the back area or have any junk vehicles. That's one of the reasons we took some time and to do the plans and go by the city ordinance and to correct the uncorrected and to make it best for the neighbor and as well for the tenants.
I have a question. Would you be open, or would it be more affordable to have a gate right where the property, where the building is? Just because I think the biggest issue you're gonna, and the neighborhood's gonna run into is the parking. Just
Yes, we
because-
could have a gate there as well. If it's required, we will do it.
Well, and this way you save on the rock wall, and it's only a smaller portion on the gate, but I really think that the parking's really where you're gonna run into the issues. But
Well, right there where it shows right next to the parking is just gonna be, screening. There's nothing else. The parking, it's gonna be, the wall's gonna be right next to the house where you see the black line. All that area, yes, right there, all that black line.
I think, but what we're suggesting is making the most of that other space, the
Yes.
screening
Yes,
for parking.
yes, we could do most of that space as well if more parking is required for any type of visitors.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be required. I think you just have to say.
Accommodated
it's
or
your decision.
accommodated.
Yeah.
You know, accommodated,
Yeah.
yes.
What size of duplexes are they? One bedroom, two bedroom,
It's gonna be 3 bedroom,
three bedroom?
and it's, the size is 1,390 square feet
Per unit.
per unit, yes.
On the legal side, I just have a question, I think, just for the benefit of the commissioners and the public. I know the answer to this, but with the tenants, you're gonna have written leases?
Yes, they will, and we're also gonna run credit on them.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask, so the benefit everybody knows, the written leases have your rules on what the tenants need to follow,
Correct?
and if they violate the terms of your lease, you're able to terminate it somehow.
Correct.
And the other question I had was, I guess, what's the process everybody knows on how you're selecting your tenants? Are you, your property management company is doing it, or are you doing it directly?
Well, I believe we should start with a management company.
Okay.
And if I'm able to, of course, I will start managing as well. And of course, I'll be close paying attention to my properties. You know, I want to implement, I should say, an inspection for the building, for each building, just to keep an eye on my tenant. If I see they're broken the lease, they're going to be out.
I think, again, just for the benefit of everybody, there's some kind of background check or something you're doing on the applicants, or you said a credit check?
Well, it's a credit check.
And I have,
Background, we could also do it. It's up there for the public as well. And I believe I should do it as well.
and so you're gonna put a fence on the perimeter of your property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Questions? Me too.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve, second by Andrew Arroyos. All those in favor of the motion? Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 8, public hearing for the proposed amendment to the Code of Ordinance of the City of Socorro, Texas, Chapter 46, zoning, Article 4, district regulations, to add the district regulations for the A1 agricultural zoning district. Mr. Arroyos?
Good afternoon. We will open public hearing at 6:39.
We currently don't have anyone.
We will close public hearing at 6:39.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 9. Consider and take action on the approval of the proposed amendment to the Code of Ordinance of the City of Socorro, Texas, Chapter 46 zoning, Article 4, district regulations, to add the district regulations for the A1 agricultural zoning district. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jose Boteo, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 9 on the agenda is the ordinance amending Chapter 46, Article 4, District Regulations of the City of Socorro, Texas, to add the district regulations for the A1 Agricultural Zoning District. Sorry. Thank you. So staff is recommending to postpone the ordinance amendment to the August 5th, 2025 Planning and Zoning meeting And this is to give staff enough time to address the comments that we received and to iron out any details for the proposed ordinance amendments. We're also pending to meet with the committee, whether it be one or two times prior to this August 5th meeting, so that we can see the ordinances with the suggestions and comments that we've received. And so if
I'm ready to make a motion to postpone
Yeah.
till the August 5th.
Me too, I second.
Let's get it.
Thank you, Mr. Cisneros. I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to postpone item number 9, second by Andrew Arroyos. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried.
And also,
Moving-
I guess we have to make a motion to postpone also item 10 and 11, right?
Yes, because it falls after the same, depending on the results of this one, so
Make a motion to postpone 10 and 11, please. Item 10 and 11.
I second.
thank you.
I have another motion made by Enrique Cisneros to postpone items
10 and
10
11.
and 11 for August 5th. Second by Andrew Arroyos. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. Any abstain? Motion carried. Now moving on to item number 12, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report. Commissioners?
Quick question on the committee meeting for that A1 item. When's that next meeting?
We are pending to schedule that meeting. We should be
Okay, so it's
reaching
not-
out.
So it's not this Thursday? It's not scheduled?
It won't be this Thursday. Lorraine's not here in the city currently for the week, so we're gonna try to schedule it for early next week so that she can attend and be a
Okay.
part of the committee, the meeting.
And they will
Okay.
still be the same two commissioners, correct?
Yeah, because I brought it up that we should have 3, but I believe we wouldn't be able to have 3 because,
Have quorum?
but then we also brought it up that at 60% voting, maybe we can clarify that. Because we have 2 commissioners, right? When we have quorum, we had a minimum of 3, right? And as long as 2 would vote, that would give us 66% voting. But I was under the impression that no, that it has to be 66% of all commissioners. Can you clarify that?
Yeah, I think it's really just 3. So if you have 3 present, then you have walking quorum with your, or do we have 6?
We have
We have
6
6.
in total, but
Who's-
in the meeting, only Mr. Estrada and I are attending. So let's say we were to bring up these items, right? And then we have quorum and we vote towards it. If 2 are on it or in favor, and then let's say it gets passed, then that's 66% of that quorum, but not the whole table.
But that meeting wasn't to vote, no, it was just to
No, no,
talk
correct,
about it?
but I'm saying
Yeah.
that
In-
since
in
we're
general, like
creating
even-
it, yeah, but we're creating that, that ordinance, right? So that's why we're having 2 commissioners, the public, but up to how much are we allowed to add so that it can get created? Because then, once, whatever we create, we're gonna have to end up voting on it, and of course, right, well, we're gonna vote
Yeah.
because we created it, so then it's gonna get passed. Is that 66% enough, or should we have another commissioner vote?
No, I think we're safer, because maybe we discussed this, I don't have a short memory now, but, yeah, we're safe with 2. I think that the problem was 3. You're right, I guess there could be a future meeting where you don't have a full panel, and then the same 2 that were present. So really, when you do these committee meetings and you're meeting with the people, really it's to get their feedback and hearing from them. You don't want to tell them, this is how I'm gonna vote, this is the decision I'm making, don't discuss any of that. It's to hear them,
Okay.
and then bring back the comments really and discuss it with everybody else, so that's how you avoid that. Even in any situation when you're walking out of here and people, if actually 3 of you discuss it outside, that's kind of a walking quorum too, so you always want to be careful, it's better to put everything here in public, so that's why then people say, oh, there's transparency, and everybody got to hear what's being discussed,
That's how the city of El Paso City Council got in trouble a couple of years ago.
Right, yeah, sometimes it ends up, and then if you look at the news, sometimes if they're texting each other, or they called each other, you know, and if, even if you're on your private phone, but then it's between multiple people. So that's why the transparency issues, it's really designed to protect the commission also, so that there's no allegations of, hey, you guys made a decision, we don't know what's going on.
That's how the school board got in trouble.
So,
Right.
for the record, right, or however we discuss it, my opinion would be that we have 2 more committee meetings and then 1 public one, right? Meaning that we have the committee one here this following week, then we have a public one to present whatever we came up with. They accept it, they digest it, right? Then we have another committee meeting based off on the feedback that we got on that public meeting. And then we bring it up to planning and zoning to actually vote on it, which would be the 4th time, or 5th now, because we already had 1, the 5th time that we would be touching that subject. But I reinstate that we need to send out that letter, invite, the way they got the first letter, inviting the public to that public meeting after our next committee meeting. That way we get the whole public's feedback and we,
Are you on the same path that Mr. Reza just mentioned, or?
I think we have to be creative with that because I know that we have a certain budget to operate. The letters that we send out for like the rezoning items, that's all considered in our annual budget. I can't speak as to, you know, the amount of money that's left on that budget. It's something that we would have to look at. I'm not too sure as the expense as what that was for the initial letters that were sent for the first public hearing. And I believe Mr. Reza suggested like QR codes or something like that.
yeah, no, but not for the meeting inviting the whole public.
So
That
I-
would be like so that they could download the whole script. What I mean is a public notice to invite the public to the meeting where we're gonna present whatever the committee came up with in our next meeting and then get their feedback. I think we need to send out those letters to everybody that's zoned A1 currently. So that way that whole commotion and confusion is like straightened out and cleared up.
The only point of order I have, so sorry, is that when it goes to committee, there's 2 planning and zoning commissioners, there's 3 residents, or in this case, farmers, or agricultural, and then I think 1 or 2 staffers, right? So the goal is that between those members, you know, the 3 representatives from the community are the ones that have to bring in the concerns. And again, that way it's a smaller group that can move through this faster, and then they present here. I think that's what the point of order is, where it's how it's supposed to be, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think, because we did the public hearing last time, so then it'll get reset, I think, tonight it'll just move to August 5th, was it?
Yes.
So, and Mr. Boteo's right, I dealt with this with the city several years ago, again, because of budget constraints, we actually had to look at, okay, what's the required notices under state law, like on our rezoning, 200 feet. The A1 agricultural rezoning, it actually came back here, because I think you guys approved it earlier in the year, and actually it came back again because it needed to go to every agricultural A1 owner. So we actually said, go back, redo it, and send a letter to each single one. But the problem is that when you send it to every single person, Socorro, there is a budget cost to that, and so if they send it multiple times, I mean, it'll, you know, that's more of a financial constraint the city has. But everybody is entitled to notice, they have to on a public hearing. So on the next one, they will get a letter. Also, you know, it's posted on the website, again, for you guys' benefit as well, rezoning, everything. Go to the City of Socorro website, it's posted on the next city council agenda, what they're gonna discuss. Like the next one for you guys, that if you're concerned about rezoning, will be probably August 7th.
August 7th and
Thursday, August 7th will be the next hearing on the rezoning. So if anybody wants to attend, you go to the website, look at it. If it gets moved, you know, you should be able to look at it through the minutes. But yeah, so I think for now, it sounds like there's a committee meeting, Mr. Botero mentioned, that 1 meeting or 2?
I mean, that's up for discussion, but we do anticipate another meeting for early next week. We'll be reaching out to coordinate a time.
My question is, and I think I hear the point where the ordinance is out there, right? It's on the webpage, it's on the website, it's on, I think even Facebook, right, through the announcements. But is there a point where, hey, these are the 5 people you can reach out to, right? 3 community members, 2 commissioners, and if you have opposition or in favor, that's what the committee's for. You go to them, or I guess that's a question. Is that where, hey, whatever issue you have with these are the 5 people you need to talk to, or the 2 staffers, so that they can come to those meetings prepared with those oppositions or in favor. Is that how it works, or I'm just asking her?
Yeah, no, it works, and I think because on the last meeting, what happened was, between all the people that had an issue, they picked their own people, and they said, hey, these are our 2 guys. So, between them, they kind of put it on those 2 guys, I think it was 2 guys, 3 people?
Yeah, a lady and her.
So they kind of picked them and said, and they're gonna go back to them apparently?
The thing I see here is this, right? So we're creating a new ordinance because agricultural is not done A1, there's no classification as A1. We have as RE. So we're creating a new classification, right? But then they have docs from back in 2008 that there was an A1 classification. Backwards a little bit, the notice was sent out to every A1 coding, but then they got confused. It was a confusion.
Yeah.
So that's why they all showed up, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. Now, what I would like to do for the city, yeah, we have the committee, but it's none of the ones that were appointed to speak here at public notice. So maybe we could reach back out to them, first or second, send out that notice telling them, hey, it's this public meeting to clarify everything. This is what committee has come up with. If you guys have any additional feedback, it's not to take away your agricultural exemption, it's not to take away anything, it's to clear up any confusion because we're creating a new category. So if you have any input, this is the time to come and talk it. We'll jot it down. Public was brought in, invited. We take notes. We do a second, which from today we would do a secondary meeting with the committee.
Yeah.
We finalize it and then we vote on it the next time we bring it up after the public has been invited. Just to clear up confusion.
Yeah,
That was
no, it's a good plan. I think that's kind of why we set it for today, because the last time they came, they were confused.
Exactly.
So we kind of explained that actually it accidentally got deleted at some point online. But yeah, and just so you know, and if they speak to you as well, you can let them know that it still exists. There's A1, obviously, there's A1 properties, there's agriculture properties. It never went away.
Mm-hmm.
It got deleted when everything moved online. They didn't move all the ordinances.
Right.
And I think some people are trying to clarify them. I'm like, no, if you're A1, you've always been A1. Nothing has changed. And actually, this will be for new people that want to move to A1, which never also happens. That's why it hasn't come up, because how many people say, hey, I want to go from residential back to
A?
A?
Well, we actually have that happening.
Well, this is the one. This is why
But
it
in
came
5
up.
years, it's only been that one.
Yeah, this is this is
Yeah.
why it came up, because it's like, nobody
Well, where
moves
is it?
backwards. They always, they want to change it to commercial or
Or residential.
multifamily or something.
Yeah.
So that's why, and nobody even picked up on it, but yeah, for everybody, the same zoning rules apply, doesn't affect anybody. This is for new A1 applications, will still be maybe another one in the next 5 years again. It just doesn't happen, but your point's well taken, I think, and so you know as well, there actually will be 3 hearings.
Okay.
Again, there'll be the public hearing here in front of you guys, then there'll be city council meeting 1 on the first reading, and then a city council meeting 2, second reading. So they can actually, all the people can come 3 times, and we kind of made it a point to explain to them, hey, these are the dates, this is when it'll be again. Get your comments in to everybody, and Ms. Lorraine was also staying in touch and got their contact information.
There was good
But we
feedback on
also
Saturday?
had,
Yeah.
we also had a public hearing on Saturday.
Well, how was that?
Oh, that one,
And
okay,
that
yeah.
was, and there was a lot of people
There
here.
was?
Because I did come. I came to listen, to see, what other voices there were, because it was full. I mean, if we thought Tuesday was bad, Saturday was full. The mayor did emphasize to the public that if you are already an A1 category, then you stayed the same. Nothing changes.
Yeah.
Okay, except for the new stuff that you might be adding to your property, okay? There were a lot of people that voiced other things that were not a part of the A1, but I think it's because they think that it's gonna affect them, property taxes, okay? How does it, a lot of people are landlocked because of new development, okay? And they can't get their irrigation because they're blocked off, their roads are blocked off. And so there was a lot, and there were a lot of people. And I think that from that public hearing, I think that they understood that the 2010 ordinance, and this is why I had staff give us a copy, there's really nothing that has changed except they're adding a few things, okay? And I think that was the discussion that they were trying to voice. What changed from the 2010 to today? What are we proposing today? Because, look, we were lost, they were more lost, okay? Because they're saying, show me the 2010 because we don't have it. What is changing from the 2010 to the proposal today? So I think that when they emphasize that they would get a copy of the 2010 so that they could compare, because I wanted to compare what was on the 2010 to what it was on the proposal. And I think it's important that we understand that, or that they understand that the new permitting laws are the ones that are affecting the new A1s, okay? But not the existing, because they are grandfathered in. And I think it's important.
And I think it's a really good sign that there's not, anybody that was at that last meeting or on Saturday, that nobody's here. So I think a lot of questions have been answered, and a lot of confusion
Yes,
might have been answered.
absolutely.
So that's why when I got here, I was like, the parking lot's kind of empty. I was like, I guess everything's okay.
No,
Right.
yeah, because
Yeah.
everybody came Saturday,
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
So I think it was a lot of
City
confusion.
manager answered questions, Mr. Boteo, Lorraine, they all asked, they all got answers, and they were also told that they could reach out to any of them. City manager passed out her cards, Lorraine passed out her cards and said, please call me if you have questions, if there's any questions that were not answered. And I
Did-
think the communication is what is important.
Did the three community volunteers, were they there
I
on
didn't-
Saturday?
I didn't see them.
Okay.
I don't
Two
know.
were
Two of them
present.
were?
I
So
don't- I
I
don't-
really think it's that we stay in constant contact with them so that they're heavily involved, just so that ultimately when all this work is done and we get the, nadie me dijo, nobody told me,
Yes,
you know, we
right.
can say, this is where, this is who, and this is why.
You know, the big thing I'll tell you is legally for the cities as well, this is why all the cities usually refrain from sending individual notices on special items, you know? This is why things are posted on the website and everything, because you send it to 7 people, but you didn't send it to the 8th person.
Right.
And they're like, hey, well, I didn't get it, so the whole thing's invalidated, we need to redo it, send it again. Oh, we didn't send it to that guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I always say, look, it has to be publicly posted here on the board out there, it has to be on the website, it's on the agenda. And again, that's why I always like giving reminders to people here too, hey, this is the next hearing, this is probably when it'll be, double check the website. If it gets canceled, you know it's a cancellation. That way the public's informed, but yeah, it's just, when you say individual notices, then that problem is like, hey, you left off that other guy, how come he got left off? And then
Yep.
they complain and they think it's somebody's fault, and so to avoid that, that's why it's a public notice to everybody. And then on the A1, on this specific one, it was like, hey, it needs to go to every landowner that's A1, needs to get notice. So it's part of it, you know, and I think I mentioned to you guys, I think a lot of the people, they had issues with the highway project as well,
Yes,
the agricultural owner.
right.
And they thought the timing of it with that had something to do with it. It's completely coincidental, because I said, you know, this had been going on for months where we were trying to figure out, hey, we need to go back and put that back in there, what was deleted accidentally.
There were a lot of legitimate questions, and in this Saturday public hearing, there were a lot of farmers that actually showed up, and they had questions. Like I said, the biggest question was, what is changing from what was to what is today? And that was their biggest question, because they didn't get copies of the 2010. And they're looking at a new, and it says we're blocking this off, but they didn't know what are we changing? That was the biggest question. So I think that on Saturday, a lot of those questions did get answered. I do think that they understood. So I think if we can do your committees and bring it to the table, and then have another public hearing to see if they have questions, and then we can vote, because I think we can move right along with that.
Yeah, and the best way is if you come across people that they're gonna express comments, concerns to you guys, is again, tell them, hey, check the city website, here's our next planning zoning meeting, make sure you show up. Make sure, or at least send a letter, send an email, Facebook message, whatever the city's, you know, it should make its way, or city planning, you know, let them know and they'll convey it, so. But that's always the goal, is to have transparency, that everybody has a chance to be heard, so.
And Mr. Estrada and Mr. Reza, thank you guys for taking the time
Yes,
to meet
thank
with
you
us.
for your time and efforts, appreciate that. Okay, I do have one item I like to talk about, is my sidewalks in my neighborhood. They did go up. A little disappointed about the way the contractors left the site after they finished. They did not backfill, they did not spread out the dirt, and they left the mounds in front of driveways for residents to spread, which was unfortunate. I did bring it up to the mayor and city manager, because I think that as a city, I think we can do better. I think we can do better because it does cost the city a lot of money to have to try and plan all these sidewalks, and we would love to have a good impression from our residents, because you don't understand how many people went to my house.
Do you know the name of the contractor by chance? You
I
get
do
it?
not know. I did
Okay.
call Lorraine, and she said that they have had problems with the contractor, backfilling, cleaning up. I mean, when you have to understand, the neighborhood is old, so there aren't really any young kids in this neighborhood, okay? So you're talking about people my age that are having to shovel and level it out so their car can get into their now driveways, because the sideways went across their driveways. They didn't go down to their driveways. And so I think that what I would like to see is a city inspection to go out after they finish and make sure that they do whatever the contract says. If the contract says backfill or pour concrete between the sidewalk and their driveways, then they need to do that. And make sure that they clean up after. I mean, there are actually still 2x4s that are laying on the side of the sidewalks where they took the forms off, and broken concrete where they broke them off, and then the piles of dirt. So I was just disappointed, and I think that we can do better as a city. And that's all I have. We try. I think that as a city, we try. I think that we have come a long ways. I mean, I have lived here. I went away and came back, and we still continue to try and make improvements. But I think that there has to be some kind of follow-up to make sure that the city can hold these contractors. And I wouldn't award another contract to this contractor. I'm sorry.
So on that, and this is just out of curiosity, like on a project like this, I mean, I couldn't guess the amount, right? But who authorizes final payment? Is it one person, or is it by a group, maybe a committee, or is it one department as a whole? And who authorizes final payment on stuff like this? Because that's where the control is at.
Yes.
And you don't get paid until it's done, right? But I have no idea. I'd like to know. I think it's a good question. Like, who
I
authorizes
don't know
that
yet
final payment?
internally with the city, again, how exactly it happens, but usually on any contract is the city manager is designated as the responsible person under a lot of the city contracts. And then, but she has to act with authority, usually from city council sometimes. And then the treasurer is the usual person that finally cuts the check, I think.
Because I would think there's somebody does a site visit, and
Yes.
there's got to be somebody signing off saying, okay, this is good to pay. And
Or a retainage, some kind of
Yeah,
retainage
right,
fees.
something
be held.
just to get his payment in full, because I'm telling you, they took down a stop sign and a street sign, and they're still on the ground. And they left the site on July the 3rd, and they have not been back.
Usually when there's a retainage, there's a 5% or 3%, whatever retainage there is, if that's withheld from them, I can guarantee you they will go back so that they can get their money. But unless there's that retainage in place, right? So
He didn't come back.
Yeah, I'll tell you as the attorney that I don't usually see things, because I don't know the internal mechanics how it works. I only see it after it does turn into a problem. And then I get a request from the city manager usually that says, hey, somebody's in default of a contract with the city, send them a demand letter, threaten to sue them. I only see that part, but I don't know what happens before it gets to me, you know? But I imagine somebody's inspecting it or something, yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioners. That's it?
Anybody else have?
Thank you, Commissioners. Moving on to item number 13, Planning and Zoning Department Report. Mr. Botello?
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Botello. Moving on to item number 14, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to adjourn, second by Yolanda Rodriguez. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion, meeting adjourned at 7:06. Thank you all for coming.
It wasn't 9 o'clock today.